The phone buzzed against my palm at 2:17 a.m. and the screen lit up with a single line that sliced the dark in half. I'm out. Meet me tomorrow. Same spot. Jay. My wife's breathing stayed soft beside me, one arm flung across my chest like nothing had changed, but the name on the message, J for Jake, the ex she swore was ancient history, felt like a blade sliding between my ribs. I stared at those 8 words until they blurred, until the room smelled only of the sour panic rising in my throat, and I knew the life we'd stitched together over 8 years was already unraveling thread by thread. I didn't wake her. I couldn't. Instead I slipped from the bed, bare feet cold on the hardwood, and padded to the kitchen where the glow of the fridge became my only witness. I opened our banking app with the same thumb that had traced her spine that morning, and the numbers hit me harder than any fist. The joint savings, every overtime shift, every skipped vacation, every dollar meant for the down payment on the little blue house with the wraparound porch was gone. Not drained, not dipped into. Gone. A single transfer at 11:42 p.m., the exact minute I'd been in the shower singing off-key to the radio. $43,000 wired to County Detention Release Fund. Jake's bail. I knew the amount because I'd seen the news last month when they dragged him in for felony possession with intent. I'd even joked with Sarah over breakfast, God, remember when we thought dating a guy like that was edgy? And she'd laughed, eyes bright, saying people never change. Turns out some people do, just not in the direction you pray for. I stood there until the fridge motor clicked off and the silence pressed against my eardrums. My first instinct was to scream, to shake her awake and demand why the money we'd promised our future kids wasn't worth more than the man who once left her sobbing on our apartment floor. But the words jammed behind my teeth. 8 years of choosing her, of swallowing pride, of believing her apologies were the final chapter. Something in me calculated that one explosion would finish us faster than the truth already was. So I closed the app, set the phone face down, and did the only thing that felt like control. I opened a new browser tab and started moving whatever scraps remained. By sunrise I'd emptied the checking, the secondary savings, the emergency credit line she didn't know I'd added last year after the furnace scare. I funneled it all into an account under my name alone, fingers trembling so hard I had to retype the routing number 3 times. I left the joint credit cards active, let her feel the first sting when the gas pump declined, but every safety net we'd woven together I cut loose and nodded to myself. It wasn't revenge, not yet. It was oxygen. I needed to breathe before I decided whether to burn the house down or walk away from the ashes. Sarah padded in at 7, hair tousled, wearing my old Penn State hoodie like any other Saturday. She kissed the back of my neck while I stirred eggs that suddenly tasted like chalk. You're up early, she murmured, voice still husky with sleep. Everything okay? The question floated between us, innocent as steam. I nodded, scraping the pan harder than necessary, and said work had emailed about quarterly numbers. Lie for lie, I figured. She bought it, humming as she poured coffee, and the normalcy of the moment was its own kind of torture. Like watching a movie where you already know the ending but can't look away. The doubt had been creeping for weeks, I realized later, the way mold blooms behind wallpaper you swear is clean. Little things. Her phone always face down now. The way she angled the screen when a notification chimed, the sudden girls' nights, that left her perfume lingering on coats I didn't recognize. I chalked it up to stress. She'd been gun-shy since her mom's cancer scare, jumping at shadows, and I doubled down on being the steady one. Extra hugs, surprise takeouts, sex that felt like apology even when I didn't know what for. I told myself marriages ebb. I told myself a lot of things. That afternoon she said she had errands. Dry cleaner, post office, maybe Target for new throw pillows because the old ones smelled like dog even though we didn't have a dog. I smiled the thin smile I perfected in customer service hell, and told her to take her time. The second her SUV backed out, I was in her closet, kneeling among the shoes she'd never throw away, fingers closing around the burner phone taped beneath the winter boots. The call log was a punch list, Jake, Jake, Jake. The texts were worse. Promises. Coordinates. A selfie of her in the lingerie I'd bought for our anniversary, captioned, "Wish you were here." My stomach folded in on itself. I sat on the carpet until my legs went numb, reading every syllable until the words lost meaning and became just shapes of betrayal. She came home flushed, arms full of bags that clinked with bottles, Prosecco because we deserved a treat. I helped carry them in, asked about her day, listened to the practiced lilt of her lies. When she reached for her regular phone to show me pillow swatches, I saw the tremor in her wrist. She knew I was watching. Maybe she even wanted me to see. That night we ate Thai on the couch, some rom-com flickering, and she curled into me like a cat that hadn't just shredded the curtains. I let her. I needed the weight of her head on my shoulder one last time. Needed to memorize how her hair smelled like coconut and possibility before I torched it all. Sunday she announced a brunch date with Megan, her college roommate who'd moved back to town. I nodded, said have fun, and the moment the door shut I called the bank again. Closed the last shared card. Transferred the piddly $63 left in joint checking. Then I sat at the kitchen table with a legal pad and wrote it all down, dates, amounts, screenshots printed at the library because I didn't trust our printer not to snitch. Evidence not for court but for me. Proof I wasn't crazy. Proof love could be a weapon turned inward. She came home tipsy, laughing about bottomless mimosas, and found me on the porch steps staring at nothing. The air smelled like cut grass and impending rain. "Hey, handsome," she said, nudging my knee with hers. "You look like someone kicked your puppy." I turned the screen of my phone toward her. The bail receipt. The transfer confirmation. Her face cycled through every shade of pale before settling on ash. "Ethan," she started, and the sound of my name in that moment was worse than any scream. I didn't yell. I'd promised myself that much. Instead I asked, quiet as snowfall, why the man who once broke her wrist in a drunken rage was worth more than the crib we'd priced last month. She cried, ugly shoulder-shaking sobs that soaked my shirt when she tried to hug me. She said Jake had changed, that county jail scared him straight, that he'd promised to pay us back with his VA disability once the paperwork cleared. She said she panicked when his mom called begging, that she thought she could fix it before I noticed, that she was going to tell me everything tonight. Every excuse tasted like rust in the air between us. I listened until the sky bruised purple, until the first fat drops hit the railing. Then I asked the only question that still mattered. "Do you love him?" She hesitated, half a heartbeat, maybe less, and that pause was the real divorce paper. She swore it was just guilt, just closure, just one last kindness to the girl she used to be. But her eyes flicked to the dark beyond the porch light, searching for escape routes I'd already mapped. I stood up, knees cracking. "I moved the money," I said. "Everything left. It's gone where you can't follow." Her mouth open, closed. For the first time in 8 years, Sarah had no story ready. I walked inside, locked the bedroom door, and slept on the floor because the bed smelled like her lies. In the morning I was gone before she woke. Duffel in the truck, new apartment keys burning a hole in my pocket, the legal pad tucked under the seat like contraband. She called 7 times that first day. Texts that started with apologies and ended with accusations. I read them in the parking lot of a diner that smelled like bacon and bleach, then deleted the thread. My mom left one voicemail asking if I was safe. I texted back a thumbs up emoji because words felt too heavy. On day 3 Sarah showed up at my office, mascara tracks like war paint, begging through the glass for 5 minutes. My boss, good guy divorced twice, escorted her out before I had to. I watched from the window as she stood in the rain, hoodie plastered to her skin, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. Part of me wanted to run after her with an umbrella. The rest of me remembered the crib. Weeks collapsed into routine. New sheets that didn't smell like us, takeout for one, running until my lungs screamed louder than my thoughts. I kept the joint account open with exactly 1 cent, a private joke I never laughed at. Sometimes at 2:17 a.m. the ghost of that buzz woke me, heart racing, but the screen stayed dark. I learned the difference between lonely and alone. I learned that silence can be a kindness when words only wound. One night I found the legal pad in a box marked old tax stuff, and flipped to the last page. I'd written a single line the morning I left. Love isn't a debt you pay to someone else's past. I stared at it until the letters swam, then tore the page out, folded it small, and slipped it into my wallet behind my driver's license. A scar I could carry without bleeding. Sarah sent a final text on what would have been our 9th anniversary. A photo of the blue house for sale sign staked in the yard like a surrender flag. No caption. I didn't reply. I drove past it once, windows glowing with someone else's future, and felt the strange relief of a bone finally set. The money's gone, some to Jake's habits, some to lawyers, some to the silence I bought myself. But I still have the folded page, the new keys, the steady beat of a heart that learned to guard its own doors. Trust isn't a vault you fill once and forget. It's a garden you tend every single day. And I finally stopped watering weeds.